Hey man, you wanna play a game? How about Munchkin Adventure Time? Oh cool dude, I love Adventure Time! Yes! I choose Finn as my character, and Jake as my ally. I'm gonna play as Princess Bubblegum. I'm going to equip Finn with a bear hat. She's got a banana guard army, which gives +3 to royalty. For +1 to me during combat, I eat your banana. Because she's a royal +4 bonus, I'm going to equip Finn with his golden sword of battle. I play the wandering monster card to force you to fight the Ice King. Oh well, then I'm going to use the Enchiridion to level up my character's abilities. Crush the Ice King into Ice Cube. I'm gonna cast a curse on you. Lose all allies. No, not the pit curse. Jake, I will avenge you. Lose the headgear you're wearing. No, take that. While I play the backpack, which makes me immune to all curses and bad stuff, which means I get my bear hat back. And my ally Jake. Yes! I had Susan Strong. Read it and weep, I use the Soul Stone. I play this one-shot card to go up a level. Nope, because I use this curse, using BMO, to make you lose a class and a level. I'm gonna play Wandering Monster and make you fight King Worm. Level 16 royalty, man! I upgrade my hero to become Super Munchkin. And I cast a curse on you, shrinking you down. Alright dude, this game is getting a little ridiculous now. Finn claims the treasure and wins the game. You can unshrink me now. Finn? Finn? Munchkin Adventure Time is a game that is part betrayal and part cooperation, where players take on various roles from the characters of the Land of Ooo, such as Finn the Human, Jake the Dog, Princess Bubblegum, and BMO, by fighting monsters and also gaining treasure in order to ultimately win the game. Munchkin Adventure Time is a game designed by Steve Jackson. It's published by Steve Jackson Games and developed by USAopoly. It is for 3 to 6 players, plays from 1 to 2 hours, and it's recommended for ages 10 and over. Munchkin Adventure Time is a spin-off of the popular Munchkin card game series. In fact, it is just the Munchkin game with the Adventure Time theme pasted on with a few additions. I'll be reviewing the base Munchkin Adventure Time game, as well as the Dungeon Crawl expansion pack. Divide the cards into a treasure deck and a door deck. Shuffle each of the decks, and then give 4 treasure cards to each player, and 4 door cards to each player. Players then go through the character cards and choose a character that they wish to play with. Note that on the character cards, there's a female version of the character on one side, and the male version of the character on the other side. Princess Bubblegum, one-shot items you use that give a bonus to combat strength are worth an extra +1 bonus, and Prince Gumball has also got the same ability. After dealing out the cards, players should have 4 door cards and 4 treasure cards. If players have a class card in their starting hand, they may play it immediately next to their character. Class cards give your character special bonuses and abilities. As you can see in the hero class, you get a +2 bonus when you help another player in combat, and you get a reward as well. There is a special card in this game called the Super Munchkin class card, which allows a character to have 2 class cards and all of the advantages and disadvantages of both classes. Or you can choose to have one class card and have all the advantages and suffer none of the disadvantages. If a player also has an ally card in their hand specified by the ally symbol in the top left hand corner, they also may place it next to their character card before they start the game. To help track each character's level throughout the game, players are recommended to use either a d20 or a d10 die. The first player to reach level 10 and defeat a monster by doing so wins the game. If players are playing with the Dungeon Crawl expansion set, players shuffle the pile of dungeon cards and randomly choose a dungeon before they start the game. Each dungeon specifies the realm that the characters are going to be playing in, and certain characters get bonuses or certain disadvantages based on what is written in this box here. On a player's turn, they kick open the door by drawing the top card of the door deck and revealing it to all of the players. If it is a monster, the player who drew it needs to fight it immediately. If it is a curse card, this curse applies to the player who revealed it immediately. If it is any other type of card, the player may choose to keep it and draw it into their hand, or play it straight away. If a player did not fight a monster in the kick open the door phase, they are now able to decide whether to look for trouble or loot the room. In Look for Trouble, a player can play a monster card from their hand that they believe that they can defeat. In Loot the Room, players can draw a second card from the door deck. If it is a monster card, it must be kept secret and saved for a later round. If it is a curse, it can be used whenever the player wishes to. Players can also play a class card or ally card immediately if drawn in this way. Finally, in the charity phase, if the current player has more than 5 cards in their hand, they need to give their excess cards to the player with the lowest level. When a player combats a monster, they add the current level a character is on the room number, plus any allies or bonus equipment items that they have, as well as benefits from their chosen class. This forms players' battle value. Players need to compare this battle value to the monster level written at the top of the card. Sometimes other players may add curses or additional unexpected monsters for players to fight, making combat somewhat unpredictable. If the monster's strength is greater than or equal to the player's battle value, the monster wins. If it is less than, the player wins. If the player wins, they get the treasure amount denoted on the monster card in the bottom right hand corner. If a player for some reason loses, they must roll the Munchkin die.
If they roll 5 or more, they escape the bad stuff.
However, if they roll 4 or less, they must suffer the bad stuff written at the bottom of the monster card. If a player can't kill a monster on their own, they may ask only one additional player for help. If a player agrees, the players combine their battle values together against the monster. However, this might require players to do some bargaining or some negotiating in terms of what rewards each person might get. There are various ways other players can interfere with combat. They can play a Wandering Monster card, a one-shot item, a monster enhancer, or using a curse. With treasure and equipment, players at any time except in combat can rearrange and equip their characters with different weapons and armor. Characters are limited in which items that they can carry by looking at the body symbols written in the top left hand corner of the cards. For example, a player cannot wear 2 pieces of headgear unless they have special cheat card. Players can also trade their items with other players whenever they want, except during combat. Items on a player's turn can be traded in for a level if the gold coin value combined together equals 1,000 or more coins. If a character dies in the game, the player loses all of their items except for their class and level. If a character chooses to swap their character with a different character, they also lose their class. All of the dead characters' items are placed out on the table, and the cards are allocated to different players remaining in the game, starting with the person at the highest level until all of this player's cards run out. The player then, who died, respawns as a new character on the next player's turn and draws 4 treasure cards and 4 door cards, forming a new starting hand again. The Dungeon Crawl expansion adds a new card type, the Dungeons. This brings the environments and worlds in Adventure Time to the game. Dungeons add an extra rule to the current gameplay, providing characters and monsters with certain classes with extra abilities. Only one dungeon is ever allowed in play at a time, and no time is spent traveling in between dungeons. Adding the dungeons also adds the portal card. The portal cards allows players to move between the dungeons. Follow the card's instructions as they are played. When players draw a portal card face down, they can take it into their hand and play it later, or flip it face up and change the dungeons immediately before drawing another door card. Players can also discard 4 cards from their hand to change the current dungeon that they're in. I really adore Munchkin Adventure Time. First of all, because it takes the elements of the Adventure Time show and perfectly marries it with the mechanics of the original Munchkin game. Secondly, the hero cards are particularly well created. They've got some excellent bonus abilities that stop players from falling too far behind in the game, and the artwork is incredibly immersive and incredibly rich in detail, and players feel like they're playing the characters from the game. As you've noticed on this particular card, the genders of both male and female represented on either side, and that's something I particularly like, that this is not just a male heavy centered game, but it's a game that addresses both genders, so you could play as a male or a female. The other thing is the game is incredibly family friendly. The rules are particularly simple, if somewhat repetitive, but also it's very easy to teach to new players who haven't played Munchkin before. On the other hand, there's a few things that I don't really like about this game. First of all, there's some limited choices that you can make on your turn. Secondly, there's a lot of reliance on luck in terms of what you draw next and what bad things can happen to you on your turn in terms of curses, the level of monster that you might be able to fight. The level of interaction is quite high. However, the interaction is quite negative in some circumstances if you are begging another player to try and help you to fight a monster, and if that player is further up than you, they might decide not to help you, creating a very uncomfortable feeling in the group. If a player betrays another player early in the game, that can be a very serious downfall for that player, because the other players will often feel antagonistic towards that character or that player because they do not wish that character to win. So even though there's a sense of cooperation, I feel that the sense of betrayal and working against the other players is actually quite high in this list. Even though the game appears to be a very light game, it actually can take up to 2 or more hours to actually fully get through a game. So it's not a game where you can sit down and play for 10 minutes. It's a game that you have to commit to and play for a longer period of time, which it does say on the box. What I'd like to highlight in my discussion section today is how much I really like the gender equity that's presented in this game. You've got both male and female characters presented equally, making this game more accessible and appealing to a wider variety of audiences. There's a lot of games out there that are very male-centered, and it's good to see board games now bridging out and including all different genders and cultures as well. In terms of talking about variants for this game, a lot of people express concern about how long the game actually takes. So there's 2 variants I'd like to mention. The first variant that's mentioned in the rulebook is that when you draw a door card, instead of placing it face up, players have the option to secretly look at it and then decide to play it straight away or keep it for later. When they decide to loot the room, instead of looting the room by picking up a second door card, they can actually pick up a treasure card instead, which boosts their character, which then increases the chances for defeating a monster in a subsequent round and ultimately finishing the game much, much earlier. Another variation that the game makers suggest is that the players can take other Munchkin sets and combine it with this set. I find that doing that actually prolongs the length of the game, but also it doesn't really fit thematically with the Adventure Time theme. But for Munchkin fans, that is definitely an avenue that they can pursue. In considering my final verdict for this game, it is a very fun, family-friendly game. However, there are elements of this game that can actually turn people against each other, and a lot of people do not like the luck factor and the time aspect of this game. So in deciding to play this game, it's probably more something that needs to be talked about as a group before embarking on it. If you'd like to see my verdict in further detail, please hang around after the video. Otherwise, it's Danny signing out. Thank you for joining me on another board game review at Board Game Sanctuary. Bye!